Today we're busy digging 3 graves for now. There are about 20 of us who have been taking an archaeology course all spring since February. We will be here for 10 days and dig. We're opening 3 half graves. To make them easier to restore later, we have dug them in profile.
Yes, these mounds are made up of moraine and sand. There are low hills, and within them there are layers of fire, meaning the body was burned. And there are burned bones that we can determine the sex and age of. So the deceased is lying there in the form of burned bones. We have also found ceramics. Boat rivets used to join planks together, so we don't know if it's a wooden box or what it might be. And then there are lots of seeds that we take samples of because we want to date them. An almost exact dating. So far, no significant finds yet, but we haven't lost hope. We want some artifacts that we can date a bit more accurately. So basically, that's what we found. Then there's some sort of log construction in one of the graves that we don't know what is, or if it could be remains of a coffin or something.
Here we're excavating a somewhat larger mound at the burial ground. It's a mound that is 7.5 meters in diameter and over 0.5 meter high. One of the first things we noticed was that there is a plundering pit in it. Someone was here before us trying to find artifacts, but despite that we've been able to confirm there's a significant layer of fire at the bottom, about 6 meters large or so, and we're digging through it now, hoping to find some interesting finds. The deceased was burned on a pyre and got various grave goods and was buried in the clothes they lived in. So there's quite a good chance there might still be something here. So far there hasn't been that much in this pit that was dug. The bones from the grave were thrown back in, but just from the bones we can eventually learn a lot. We can find out if it's a man or a woman and how old they were.
And yeah.
Perhaps if household animals and others were slaughtered and buried along, it's not entirely uncommon. We've reached such a point in the excavation of this burnt layer that some findings are starting to emerge. What Robin is currently measuring is a whetstone, a sandstone whetstone. It's probably imported, maybe from Norway. We know that Norway exported a lot of whetstones all over Europe, in fact. Then next to the whetstone.
Done. He picked it up now.
There's a little iron boat nail. It's not so uncommon in the graves here in Estrickland to find boat nails. We don't know if the deceased was buried and burned in a boat, or if old boat timber was used, or a funeral pyre was built. But it's a boat nail anyway. Boats are quite central here in Estrickland. As much of the communication happened along the waterways. No, that's how people got around. And otherwise there was a lot of forest and wilderness to get through. So the boat was a central part of a person's life. Today is Friday, and it's the second day we're excavating the burnt layer in the big mound. Now we've reached the stone packing in the center of the burnt layer, and it turns out that quite large pieces of the burnt bones of the man or woman who was buried here in the grave are starting to appear.
Yes, I believe so.
When the soil is scooped onto the shovel and placed in the bucket, we transfer it into a sieve. Here we can pick out the finds that come from the grave. So far it's mostly burnt bones from the deceased. Exciting because from them we can tell if it's a human in the grave, as there are also animal bones there. But also we can determine the gender of the deceased, whether it's a man or a woman. And if we're really lucky, we might even be able to determine the age.
Person.
Right now we've found a very exciting discovery in the same grave where the whetstone was, and it's an iron arrowhead. Judging by the shape, it's not a Viking Age arrowhead. It's a bit too early to say for sure yet. It might be an arrowhead that we can date to the 600 or 700 rather than the Viking Age, so to the Vendel period in that case. Then it's very exciting because we've got an older dating of this burial site than we've had before, and that's what we've been aiming for to try and achieve. It's Monday morning in the second week of the excavation, and we're continuing digging in the grave where the arrowhead was found last Friday. Over the weekend we've determined that this arrowhead actually dates back in time, and that the grave should be dated to the 600s to 700s, which is really exciting. Right now we're uncovering quite large amounts of burnt bones. That's probably what we should focus on today, getting those bones up. Now we've uncovered the stone packing at the bottom of the large grave here. Or what we're doing today is sketching it so we can then remove it. Under and within this layer we have a significant burnt layer that we're sieving and are continuing to sieve. Let's see if any finds come up in this grave then.
It's just number 3 in the fields.
Hold on to him. Thanks.
Now a fun find has appeared in one of the graves again. A button from the top of a knife handle has emerged. It's a button made of brass, and already last Friday we found the lower part of the knife handle. So now it's just the knife itself that's missing.
The measurement or what?
This one.
There was height, but it wasn't salvation.
But then I'm there.
Is it that one? Yes, that's me. Is it that one? Yes, that's me.
Thanks for now.
This Vendel grave has proven to be very exciting. We're nearing the end of its publication. We're quite convinced that this is a man's grave from the 600s to 700s then. What came up yesterday is that we've now found parts of the shield. He evidently had a proper Vendel era ceremonial shield taken with him to protect the hand on the shield. They had an iron shield boss, and around it they've placed rivets to decorate the shield. They've covered it with a bronze dome that looks like this. And then you can do, on top of the shield itself there was a small knob. We found that too. It looks like this. Quite thin, but it's only 1 millimeter thick. This one is gilded and features quite fine ornamentation. So it was a really fun find we made. Then just now we found something we've actually never seen before. It looks almost like a little bell, very well preserved. out of the ordinary. It was actually quite heavy. Then on this one, something has rusted from iron.
No.
But that's something that happened over time in the fire layer. Possibly this might have hung on a sword. That's a hypothesis we have right now. We'll check it out more closely later. Here we have a picture of a shield boss. This whole thing is the shield boss. Here is an edge that's been attached to the shield itself. And this is what protected the hand. There were rivets on the edge, 5 of them. And these are the kind of bronze domes we just looked at. Then on top of the shield boss there was a button. And that was the one that was filled and nice with ornaments.
Yes, what we're doing now is digging down a bit. We've only excavated a square meter outside and are digging down in the grave to see if this is the original ground surface. So that we know if we're done. And now I think we're done. We don't find anything further down, so let's get started with this. We're going to cover this up now and draw the profile. You can clearly see in the profile how the fire layer lies and so on. Then they've opened a section between the graves here to see if there's anything in between, if there could be any remains of furnaces or something. But it doesn't seem like there's anything there. So we're starting to finish up here now.
We've now reached the stage where we start restoring the graves again. Because what we've done now is a scientific investigation of a burial site. Normally with archaeological excavations there are developments in the background, and then graves and such should be documented and removed. But here we're going to restore it so that it doesn't really show where we've been. Instead, the burial site should look as beautiful as it did when we arrived. So our purpose has only been to try to extract as much information as possible from these graves.
And this is actually quite a
heavy work that's going on right now. There are 6 people who...
No room.
I'm restoring this with rubble and sand and stuff. Simply the filler that was in the grave. Yes, so it's time to summarize this excavation, and
Yes,
I think there are... It's a success. Maybe an overused term, but that's really what we're talking about here. Because even though we've only opened 3 graves, the questions we had before we started here have actually been answered in very exciting ways. This grave field was examined in the 1920s and 1950s. And they only found graves from the 900s. Politically, this would mean that there was a very rapid settlement here during the 900s, if that had been the case. But now we've shown that there are actually graves from the 600s and 700s here, which means a completely different development of the area, a more normal development. And it's been incredibly exciting to show this. It's always fun to rewrite history a little bit. We've also gained insight into what 800s graves look like. They show some characteristics like burnt bones and some rivets. In the 1900s, the graves look different. There's a lot of slag in the graves. As it seems now, we believe that during the 1900s, it seems the people in Gästrikland strongly identified with iron. They put slag as grave gifts in the graves and even buried some people in blast furnaces. It's also been exciting to see that this is something that develops over time and doesn't just appear suddenly. It grows over time, as I said. Overall, this has been a very successful study. We look forward to doing something similar in the coming years. It will be a matter of funding, but we should be able to find a way to solve that.